When you put your heart and soul into creating something, you want it to make an impact, to endure, to express something. What does it take to get there? I'm Questlove, and this is Quest for Craft, my collaboration with the makers of the Balvenie single malt Scotch whiskey. A deep dive into the obsessive, never-ending, whatever-it-takes journey to create something extraordinary. Is craft a ride or die commitment? Or is it more about trying a bit of this and a bit of that until you arrive at something that works? In other words, is it about diving in headfirst and not looking back or remaining open to a possibility? My guest today started out as a drummer and then became a comedian, writer, and actor. But while in pursuit of each path, he was, and always is, all in. I'm here at Electric Lady Studios with Fred Armisen, who made a career out of creating surprising, unexpected characters and sticking to them. The one thing I always admired about you and your art is your commitment to a character. Do you write the person's biography out? Like, how do you craft a character?
Usually, if it's like a new character, I'll think of somebody I already know. So I'm like, oh, I think I could do a comedian who's like, an impression of someone who's like so-and-so, or a musician, or a person who I've met, in my life. And it's like a question mark. I'm like, oh, what is that guy like? I'm like, I think they're usually kind of, and then I just get into it like that.
When you meet someone, are they automatically like fair game? Like, are you automatically thinking like, beep, 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 radar, oh, this guy's a character?
Yeah, kind of. It is kind of like that where, there'll be someone be wearing something. I'm like, oh yeah, who wears a vest? Like...
And then you just go through
this
their
kind of
life
person,
story.
I just kind of think about it, and then I wait until there's a time that's appropriate to bring it out, as opposed to like, I gotta show everybody this character. It's more like, hey, we need someone in this sketch who is like, and I'm like, oh, I think I have somebody, or like a way of speaking. Since I didn't really come from comedy, I never thought like, how can I make this funny? I always thought like, how can I be convincing? Like, how can I be a version of this character that's like, might fool people? I was hoping that people in the audience, this is before I was on SNL, would be fooled. Like, oh, I hope they think this is a Venezuelan timbale player. And then, and that really was my hope. So it was like less like about, trying to make a joke of it.
Can you talk about a character that you've done that really relies on commitment?
I did on Weekend Update on SNL, I did a character who is like an alternative comedian, like who doesn't really have punchlines, and actually wears a jacket similar to this one called Nicholas Vane. And it would, I would take a newspaper, show it and I'd read from the paper. And like, for example, if I had asked you, or if anyone in this room, forgetting about your notes, forgetting about what you have in front of you, there are no comedians who, there are performers in every genre. I wouldn't watch a performer unless there is every time that you read any newspaper, and I don't mean like books or like, Politico article. I'm talking about if we take any interview.
So you're saying every LA alt comedian and subsequently every Brooklyn, Williamsburg comedian just pivots into a different rabbit hole and never gets out?
Yeah. It's like a little bit of that and a little bit of like, the end of the joke is more like saying like, come on. So it's like you're reading a newspaper like, well, they just said that they took over the country. Come on, you can't. And that was it, so. Fred's commitment got me thinking about one of my favorite art forms, improv comedy, where the intersection of commitment and flexibility are the engines of a comedy made up entirely on the spot. We sat down with the improv comedian and actor Carl Tart at the world-famous Upright Citizens Brigade to learn more.
I've always been able to make people laugh my whole life. When I started doing improv and started really focusing on it and really focusing on just the art of it and really leaning into it, it taught me how to be funny.
They're gonna do a jam. We just need a suggestion for them. Farfalle.
It's all about commitment. You gotta remember, we're still doing theater. We're still doing a performance art. You have to be committed in that, just like you have to be committed in acting to be believable. We're acting up here. You don't know what the other person's gonna say. Sometimes your partner will pimp you into something. which is a saying that we have in improv where your scene partner gives you something that's not something you really want to do, but you have to because you are committed. You're yes-anding to it.
So, Pastor, how did Ronnie die?
He bled to death after being poked in the finger by a hedgehog.
You always touching stuff.
That's the issue. It's the main issue. The audience is committing 100% because they're committing to knowing that everything you're about to see tonight has never been seen before and will never be seen again. It could go horribly wrong, but strap in. Usually, you come out on the other side being like, man, that was impressive.
That could have rabies?
Why do you say it like that? I do this as much as I do because I really and truly am able to check out when I'm up here doing this. I'm not thinking about nothing else. It's just literally playing with my friends. It gives me so much joy. And I'm lucky because not everybody gets to find that type of joy in their life.
So what is your relationship with your audience? And is laughter the desired result that you seek?
Well, I've got a really good relationship with, I guess I'd call it my audience. Whenever I go out on tour and I'll do stand-up, and they already know what they're gonna get. Like they know what the kind of stuff that I like to do. So that's the best feeling.
What if there's a person that asks you to do like a benefit or, how do you adjust?
I just like accept that it's for someone else.
Okay.
I'm like, I'll do this. It's not really what I do, but sure. But if it's something that's like way outside of what I do, I'm pretty clear on like, you know what I do? I explain to them like, it's just not what I do, you know? One time I had to do this like short film and I had to like fall on the floor and the director goes, you've got to sell it. You got to sell it like you're hitting your head on the floor. And I'm like,
oh, they wanted Chevy Chase.
Yeah, I was like, I really was like, you got the wrong guy. I'm not going to try to sell it. I'm going to,
I'm just selling.
You can get a stunt man, but
right.
Very much not. I'll do impressions and voices and stuff.
All right, so who are the comedians or musicians or artists that's, top of your mountain in terms of their artistic commitment?
That's easy. Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo, David Byrne. Mm-hmm. And comedy-wise, more and more, I do think that Mike Myers and Dana Carvey were that for me. Mm-hmm. Just the way they came up with characters and, they had a lot of commitment to their characters. So that's just my quick, easy answer.
Is everyone at SNL thinking like, this could be my Wayne moment, or this could be my, that's the ticket guy? Okay, I'm sorry for my old references.
No, that's fine. Because there's like an honest answer and then there's like the cool answer. So I could be like,
give me the cool answer first.
So the cool answer is like, no, you just feel it out and have fun. But then
I've seen y'all cry on the 17th floor.
Yeah.
I've been up there.
and the truth is really especially when you get there, you're like exactly that. You're like, no, I want to have something that people remember and the catchphrase catches on and stuff. On the other hand, and this is something you can never plan, an example of a kind of throwaway is the Californians, right? That was at the bottom of the run-through. And the character was very much like a question mark. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but how about a guy who's, like from California and is like talking about directions, but right. Like something where a guy's like, hey, what are you doing here? Yeah. Because that's like a California way of talking of really pronouncing all your words.
Yeah.
But I never thought definitely did not think we would do a second and a third one.
Was there a particular character that you really wanted to catch on that you felt like, this is it? And it didn't? A million.
And I could barely remember them, but there were so many. I remember one that me, Bill, and Kristen did where we played 3 Australians.
Okay.
And the sketch was called The Australians. This was before the Californians. And it was just us packing a suitcase to go on a trip. And all the stuff we put in the suitcase was like, boomerang, all right, you got, it was all Australian things.
Now I'm totally fanning out. There's one character that you and Wig used to do where you would have to say the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
How do you guys
Yeah.
Wait. Is it planned or is
No,
that?
that was unplanned.
Because one time I didn't see them holding cue cards,
Yeah,
and I was like, "Wait, what the hell?"
Yeah, no,
like because I'm watching the.
They just they sing a song together. It was
Right, I was
called
reading the
Garth
cue
and Kat.
cards, and I'm like, "That's not on there."
Yeah, and that was a true that was like fun times at SNL. That was a real nothing but total happiness all the way through.
So how does commitment help make better whiskey? Take floor malting. The Balvenie is just one of a handful of distilleries that still practices this craft in the same way that it's been done for over 1,000 years. Doing this when there are more efficient, easier ways is an act of commitment. It requires a giant malting floor. It requires fields of barley and keeping 2 farmers on staff. And it requires craftspeople like Robbie, Roy, and Matthew to use their hands and their senses to steep grain in water, which sprouts the barley seeds, activating the sugars necessary for whiskey fermentation. This commitment affects the entire distillery community. If you work at the Balvenie, you're part of a conversation that involves people using computer algorithms to manage inventory, along with people using their hands and their senses, like farmers and maltsters. It's actually a lot like Electric Lady Studios, a marriage of technology and artistry. This place is loaded with sophisticated gear along with wooden guitars and 60-year-old keyboards. And like any successful partnership, it requires a commitment to nurture that sweet spot where head and heart easily come together to craft magic.
All right, on the spot, can you create a character right now?
You've toured Germany, right?
Yes.
Sometimes the journalists are kind of mean.
Yes.
Without even, but they're not trying to be, but there's something. So
very curt and to the point.
So I'm going to do a German interviewer interviewing you.
I'm getting interviewed. Okay.
All right. So we're here with Questlove and. So you have played recently your group in Germany, yes?
Yes, we just marked our first time in Germany.
Yes. But I understand that there weren't so many people in the audience. There were very empty seats and so on.
Well, it was also raining that day, and so. But we still have fun on stage.
Well, many other groups play there, and it's very crowded. And Coldplay was there, and everyone was singing along. But they don't really sing along sometimes to music, yes?
No, the Roots brand of musicianship is a little bit different than Coldplay.
Sometimes I play your record, and I listen halfway through in the needle. I put it back.
Fred, y'all.
And really quick, not to put you on the spot.
Yes.
Those Tonight shows, when I come out there and I do something, when I'm planning what to do, I always think, is Questlove gonna like this?
Wait,
for real.
Not,
I'm very I think he might like this bit. Has he seen this one before? I always, when I'm going through what I'm gonna do.
Thanks.
The way you do things, I'm like, that's the right way. That's the right way to do things. So,
well,
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
In the worlds of science and engineering, things are correct or incorrect. But when it comes to creativity and craft, the difference between just okay, pretty great, and pure genius often come down to commitment. How much of yourself are you putting into the work? How deeply are you willing to dive into the rabbit hole of your own ideas? If you're struggling with a project and you're wavering, don't step back. Don't waver. Just dig in and press on.